Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, and you're listening to the Cindy Cochran Show. I love Mondays. A lot of people don't like it. They had too much fun during the weekend, but I was just mostly doing cleaning, so I was very happy to see Monday come along, and I had to stop that. But the rain that happened Saturday was just amazing here. It flooded our front yard, backyard. It looked like a lake running through it faster than I'd ever seen anything else. It was amazing. And so the ground is so incredibly saturated right now, and you'll see reports wherever you live and you're listening to this. They're talking about, about Texas and all of the rain that's coming. We have rain all week, and you'll be hearing a report on that from our own house meteorologist. Fake, you're not really a meteorologist. If I could say it, maybe I could be one, but meteorologist. But I mean, if you talk about what's going to happen in the weather, wherever you get your wherever your resource is, then I guess that's what you're considered. But anyway, Richard will be doing that at the half hour. Listen, guys, we've got so much to talk about. Now, Lieutenant Bob Berry is normally in the house by now, but a lot of times he has meetings, and Lieutenant Bob Berry with the Conroe PD usually gives us some insight to law and all that. But today, I'm so excited. I hope he makes it. And he didn't have a meeting that's going to mess this up, because he was going to come in and give us clues of a crime scene that he came upon. And it's all, it's past the limit of, what is it called? The limit of, I can't think of the word. Anyway, it's past that. And he can talk about it. So we're going to get all the clues from this statute of limitations. That's it. It's run out on these. So he can talk about them and give us all the clues. And then if you want to respond and you know who did it, you think you know who did it, or ask a question that hasn't been asked, I'm going to try and ask him questions just like I was the detective that walked in to the scene after they had gotten there and had already gone through the scene, but I'm coming in to find the clues that I need to make a decision on who did it. And so he was going to come in and talk to us about that. And so hopefully that will happen, because that will be so much fun. That will be like our own little forensic file type of a show that we could have. But that's okay, because he's given me more time to talk about what's going on in politics. Oh, boy, so much. Locally, we have early voting. I remember we talked to Kate Bem on Friday. She's running to be the judge of the 9th District Court. Oh boy, I see Bob meandering across the street, and I think that was, didn't he just jaywalk? I think he was jaywalking as he came across the street. Hi, Bob. It's so good to see you. He has now entered the studio and is walking over. Bob, weren't you just jaywalking? I saw you, and you weren't at the end of the street. You were coming kind of in the middle of the street. What?
It was the emergency.
It was an emergency?
Yes.
Oh, to get on my show?
Yes.
Would the police have said, that's cool?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, hurry, go ahead. We'll escort you, in fact.
There you go. Something like that.
I am just so glad you're here, because remember we talked about, and I've gotten everybody's whet their appetite for a crime scene that you came upon that's past the statute of limitations that you can talk about, and give us all the clues that then we may be able to decide what additional questions we need to ask, and then also about who did it. And then I've got my Facebook. It's all open there. So if you want to, send me a Facebook note saying, ask him, why was the blood on the guy's back of his shirt, and the one that you think may have done it? What would have made the blood on the back of his shirt happen? If you want to ask any kind of questions, I'm just saying, once he gives us all the the situation and we go through the crime scene, then you can Facebook me and ask me some questions, or if you know the butler did it, you go ahead and put that in there. Okay, so we'll give you a chance to be a part of this. And if you have some suggestions you want to talk about, anything, we'll stop what we're doing right in the middle of it and talk about it, because you are the listener, and the listener is always right. And so I'm going to now, Bob, you have until 15 after. You have 10 minutes to get those thoughts together and get ready to give that to me. And I have just got to talk about some things that the Donald, they have found and dug up on the Donald. And so this is so cool. The New York Times, in all their effort to try and trash this guy and bring him down and all that, what they have done in this past week was only to give credence to his followers and his supporters that everybody's out to get him, and that no matter what you read is going to be fake. But the New York Times, who should hold some type of credibility, except when you know that they're struggling to stay even alive and relevant, does this expose following the life and the women in Donald Trump's life. And they come out with this headline, about how many women that they have interviewed, and disturbing stories have been found. Imagine, disturbing stories have been found about Donald. So I think this is just hilarious, because, I started reading the expose, and I'm going like, this is so light. This is like, you could make anything out of this. This is ridiculous. The more I read, it's like, what are you doing? And people will just not buy you, New York Times. It's bad enough as it is, but when you do stuff like this. And so I thought it was all, like, it was just a hit piece, actually. I am sure, as I'm standing here, that this guy, when he went through his couple of divorces that he went through, that he dated around. And I'm sure with all the beauty pageants and stuff that he put on and stuff, that he flirted with the girls there. I am sure that happened. But in his mind, he probably wasn't thinking at the time, I'm going to be running for president, so I probably shouldn't be doing this or being around here because it may look bad. Just the reflection of it. I don't want even to look bad. So anyway, so they started talking about, claiming all these things that he had done with girls and stuff. Well, the main figure, no pun intended, in this piece was this woman who went to a party that he had for a lot of models. A lot of models were there, celebrities and that kind of thing. And this one girl that came, and it was people were going to be swimming, and a lot of people had their bathing suits on and all that. And he asked her, why didn't she bring her bathing suit? And she said, oh, well, I didn't think I'd be swimming and stuff. But you need to go put a bathing suit on. You got a body that rocks. You should have a bathing suit on, because look at all these girls. Anyway, so she says, well, I don't have one. She says, I've got so many. I'll show you. And so he shows her where all the bathing suits are. He says, you pick what you want, and then come on down. So she comes down, and he goes, look, is this not a Trump girl or what? He says, you're beautiful. You look gorgeous. And that was what happened. And they spun out that he forced her to wear this bikini. He forced her to do all this stuff. That's what they implied. And she comes out this morning and just says, blast the New York Times, because before she did the story, she made sure, she said, now you're sure that this is not some kind of hit piece on Donald Trump. I've never had a problem with him. He acted like a gentleman. All that. They left all that out. They said, no, it's going to be fine. We're just talking about his relationship with women, because he claims that he has such the strong regard for womanhood. And so she said, okay. So she told him this story. That was her encounter with him, but they turned it to be very salacious. And so she was mad because they promised her all this and they just totally lied to her. And then she told what a great, person Donald Trump is. So all they did was force this person who they were claiming to be legitimate to talk about how fake they were and how they lied, and then what a great person Donald Trump was. So it just backfired so bad on them. And they felt like, they're so arrogant, they felt like they had the strength and the power to, when you put this in print, that what people are going to remember was that he was being, questionable with the ladies, and they couldn't really prove it. So there it is. It opened that up, and now if he thinks that he's going to have anyone talk about that, go ahead and do that, New York Times, and then I'm going to talk about things that I've done are all out in the open. You can just ask me anything, I'll tell you anything. But then you have Bill Clinton and his stuff that he's done, and the stories that have come back about Jeffrey Epstein, who had this plane that he would fly around, and he'd pick up his celebrities and his friends and fly them around, and they could have sex with young girls on this plane. It was just, this man cave, horrible thing. And Bill Clinton had been documented as being flying on there 11 times. They found that it was more like 22 times, and the Secret Service had reported that he disappeared on them, and he left them places and flew on this plane that they were supposed to be on with him, and they weren't. So there you go. He's with this best buddy, and they're flying over to these different islands, and stuff. And this is where a lot of the trafficking and all that stuff happens. And this guy was caught and was prosecuted for being a trafficker. But yet Bill's on the plane with him, and now the stuff is starting to come out. And people have been talking about this around New York for a long time because they know this guy and they know what he does and who he has on the plane and what's there for the people that fly with him. So this has been, why in the world? And why you say well, that's him. That's not Hillary. Hillary's like the victim in this thing and all that. Yet Hillary just came out probably 3 weeks ago and said, what's so great about having Bill on the campaign trail with me is because people get to see who is going to be right there beside me, because everyone has this great feeling about how the economy went crazy and was so wonderful during the Clinton years. So you're going to get that back. You're going to get that back with me and with Bill on this. And so she builds up Bill and puts him right there in the Oval Office again with her, and I'm going, ay. The fact that he was going to be the first man of the country, and then he's going to have to hang out with all the charities and the women's things. I wouldn't trust him. There's no track record for this guy to be trusted to be in the White House by himself. I don't see it. So she has really brought this to the surface, because if she's going to bring him into the administration, then he's got to be vetted as well. And I think Donald Trump's ready to vet him. Anyway, we will be right back, and we're going to get into our crime of the week and see if you can solve it, along with Bob Berry. Don't go away. You're listening to the Cindy Cochran Show, and there's so much more to say.
The Cindy Cochran Show, the first daily talk show serving Montgomery County.
In a world where everyone with a smartphone is a photographer, unique images still stand out in local newspapers, magazines, and on the internet. Writer and photographer Brad Meyer has gained a reputation for innovation and quality, specializing in an editorial approach to portraits and event photography. For information, visit bkmeyer.com or call 281-221-4812.
The Cindy Cochran Show. You ain't heard nothing yet.
Boy, that's true. You haven't. I mean, we're only 15 minutes into this, so you really ain't heard nothing yet. We got a lot to go. Remember today's early voting. Get out there and early vote. And so you don't have to stand in the real long lines. It's going to happen, the real-time voting. And I don't know what day that is. Is it a week? Is it a week from now? Richard always knows. Oh, Richard, did you see that? He kind of like, I don't know. So, but we'll let you know on that. But today's the early voting. You can get out and at least do that. And also that we are going to be going to FM, and we'll all talk like this. Right. Okay. It's 104.5 and 106.1 that you will be able to turn your radios to, and you'll hear us right there, right there. It's so exciting. And we'll be covering, most of Montgomery County area. Like 200,000 people now will be within our ear reach. And so it's going to be so much fun. And you'll still be able to do the, go through Facebook and give us suggestions, ask me questions and things like that. And then also, we still have the internet. We'll have the internet radio going, and that will be there. So anybody in the world can listen to us during that. That's our global station, but we'll have a local station and concentrate a little more on what's going on, what's happening locally. But you know me, I like to go national and infinity and beyond and all the things. But what does just intrigue me is what police officers, when they're called to a scene of a crime, they're called in, and a lot of times, maybe it's after the crime or maybe it's during the crime, or they never know when they go up to the door. And there they are. They're confronted with so many things immediately, and that they have to discern from all that's going on what might be the truth. And so what's happening. So Lieutenant Bob has been so sweet about, he's going to share a crime scene that he not happened on, they were called to. And now he's a lieutenant, and you don't go out and do you still go out and do the crime scenes? Are you called to those crime scenes, or is it just the officers take it and the detectives take it?
At that particular time, I was in CID, in criminal investigations, and so I was actually in that case.
Okay, inside in that. Well, even if you weren't, if you had crimes that you came upon, and you saw all the clues, what they were, and you tell me, so I can ask you some questions, and then you'll know who eventually, you don't have to name a name, but who eventually was the person who did it, whether it was the daughter, the husband, the boyfriend. And, boyfriends have really gotten a bad rap, because every time they say, and so we now, the person...
It's always the man.
That's right. They say, and the person of interest is the boyfriend. And because sometimes I just don't get women who, they start dating someone and then they leave the kids with them and say, here, I'll be back. Because he doesn't want to work. He wants to, let her go out and do the job. And then she's going to leave a man, first of all, a man who does not have any vested interest in this child. He does not, he did not see its birth. He wasn't there for the, when she was having morning sickness and all this. This was not his child. It's not his responsibility. And if he doesn't want to work in the first place, why do you think he would want to take the responsibility to make sure this child was, feeling great about themselves when they go to school or whatever? I don't, that's such a precarious situation that they've seen over and over and heard so many times, watching TV, watching Cops and all that they would do something like that. But, oh, well, that's their choice. Okay, so, Bob, here we are. Go.
We were called out from the fire department. The fire department had a house on fire, and they came in to take care of the fire, and they found a body in the kitchen.
Oh, yikes.
Of the house, a female.
So the fire department was called by whom? Who called the fire department?
The house was on fire, and somebody called the fire department and said, hey, this house is on fire.
Right.
And so the fire department comes out, takes care of the fire, and they find a body.
Okay, but since they found a body, wouldn't they be questioning who put the call in?
Well, I don't know who that was.
Okay. So that's
been many years ago. I don't know how it got there, but the fire department came in
and they find a body in the kitchen on the floor.
Correct.
Does it look like the person was cooking and the smoke got too bad?
It was actually in the kitchen.
The fire started in the kitchen.
Yes.
Okay.
In the kitchen, and the victim was actually in front of the stove.
Okay, so did they have the pot in the hand? Did you see it? Did you come in and see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, did she have a pot in the hand or a spoon in the hand? Or does it look like she was cooking and the fire went up? And
there were things on the stove, but she did not have anything in her hands or.
Okay, so there was some stuff on the stove. Mm-hmm. Did it look like that's where it started from? It originated there on the stove? Uh-oh. Okay. What else was on fire? Where do they think it originated?
In the kitchen.
It was in the kitchen, but it wasn't on the stove?
It was a kitchen fire.
Okay, but it wasn't on the stove. Uh-oh, okay. Continue with what you saw.
Okay. And of course, the person was dead. The victim was dead there.
Right.
Had several burns that was consistent with the fire in the kitchen. And let's just keep on going with that.
All right. We have a fire. We know it originated in the kitchen. It started in the kitchen.
Yes.
Right? But it's not. You're not sure it started on the stove itself.
I will tell you this.
Okay.
Because it was this investigation for us, as well as the fire department. Mm-hmm. There was some nefarious activity.
Okay. That you saw. You saw, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right. This shouldn't have happened. Did it look like somebody had come into the house, ransacked the house in any way?
No.
No, it doesn't look like anything was taken?
It was just a kitchen fire.
It was just a kitchen fire.
Mm-hmm.
On the table, did it show that there was somebody else had been there eating, or were you able to?
No, everything was good.
There's one person in there.
Mm-hmm.
And did y'all find any bullet wounds in the?
No.
Her lungs were full of smoke.
Haven't got that far yet.
Well, if I walked in, okay, because you have to have the examiner has to come and tell you all that stuff.
Right.
So you're just looking at this woman on the floor.
We don't have a coroner in the county.
Okay.
We actually start the investigation, then we go into the autopsy, and we have a doctor that's a pathologist that does that.
Well, is there any way to tell, when you come upon a scene like that, can you tell if the person died from smoke inhalation?
At the scene, no.
You can't tell that. Is their skin is burned black?
Well, burned.
It was burned, okay. And did you find matches? Did you find smell of gasoline? Did you find something that was...
Electric stove.
Okay. But did you find anything outside where you thought, well, if it had come from the stove, this would have happened, but if it came from outside or somebody threw a bomb in there and it's...
The house was intact.
Doors locked?
I don't remember if it was locked or not. Of course, the fire department broke in the door to come in anyway. So
okay, so they don't. Okay, well, because if it was locked, that's weird because I don't see it being a criminal act because she was in there by herself. Everything was locked, and something happened in the kitchen that started the fire. But is your feeling at the time when you came in and looked at it, was your feeling that someone else started this fire? It wasn't her?
Possible.
Okay. The possibility that somebody else started the fire.
Well, I will tell you this. I'm going to put it on the end, okay? At the end of the case here, it was a homicide.
Okay. So that's very interesting. So it was considered a homicide, but her body was consistent with someone who had been burned.
Correct.
To death, and that's why she died, because of the burns.
Correct.
Nothing else on her, like any bullet wounds or stab wounds or anything like that, were not. Okay. Wow. Okay, so as they investigated, was the whole house burned or was it just in the kitchen only?
Kitchen.
Everything else was intact everywhere else. Was there a phone? Were there phone records? Her bank statement say anything?
She wasn't on the phone. There was no calls.
Well, I mean, what about, did you go through her bank statement and see was the money missing or was there?
Nope.
Is she married?
Was.
She was married. Was she divorced?
Yes.
Did she have life insurance?
I would put it like that, The victim or the suspect was a significant other.
Was a significant other.
Yes.
Okay. Her
I'm not going to say
boyfriend?
whether it's male, female,
okay.
or whatever it is, but it was a significant other with that person.
Okay. They've been with that person.
Yes.
Okay. So that would be the first person of interest, right? That you would talk to. And where was that person when this fire started? Do you know?
At the time, no. Actually, at the time that we found that and found the information of who this person was,
Yeah.
they were at work.
Okay. Who made the call to him?
The neighbors. They saw the smoke coming from the building.
No, made the call to the guy, to the or the girl.
We did.
You did. You made the call.
Well, not me technically, but yes, us.
Did you hear them call him? Did you listen to what they asked the person?
Can't go into that.
You can't go into that.
No.
But
If I said that, well, then it would give away the rest of the case. I will tell you that this other significant other was at work at the time that this took place.
At this time, and verified that.
Yes.
Okay. So, do we find out that she or he was having an affair? Did we find anything like that out? No, nothing like that.
No.
There was nobody mad at this person. There's nobody that was trying to get revenge.
No.
A relative that wanted the rest of the house. They only burned up the kitchen. No.
There was actually no material items that were taken. No money, no checks, no TV sets or nothing. It was just her in the kitchen.
And it wasn't a drug issue. She wasn't
drugs.
Cooking any drugs.
Average people.
Average people. Mm-hmm. This is driving me absolutely crazy. Okay. All right, guys. We have to go to a break. If you think you know, or you want to ask a question that I've not asked, please Facebook me, The Cindy Cochran Show. Rats. Okay. All right. You're listening to The Cindy Cochran Show with Bob Berry, and we've gotten just about all of this case, and now we got to figure out who done it. Okay. So we'll get back. We'll do a look. We'll kind of go back and wrap it up, and then. Okay. All right. Anyway, don't go away. Did you listen to The Cindy Cochran Show? We got so much more to say.
The Cindy Cochran Show. Real reality radio.
Hi, I'm Mike Sasser, your host of the Health Hour right here on Lone Star Community Radio. I'd like to invite you to tune in to my live show each Wednesday starting at 1 p.m. I like to say it's an hour of health news you can use. Be a part of the conversation by going to MikeSasser.com and clicking on Contact Mike for my email, Facebook, and Twitter links. The Health Hour with Mike Sasser every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on Lone Star Community Radio, your local source for healthy living.
Lone Star Community Radio is on FM. That's right. Set your radio dials and your button presets to Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1 coming in June 2016. To celebrate this edition and the addition of video versions of our talk show and music shows on YouTube and cable TV, we are offering special sponsorship rates, which include free audio spots that are played throughout our broadcasts. Interested? Check out our sponsor rates for shows just like this one you're listening to right now online at irlonestar.com/sponsor. Or call the station at 936-647-5747. Reaching the people of Montgomery County with Montgomery County's community radio station with Lone Star Community Radio.
The Cindy Cochran Show. The first daily talk show serving Montgomery County.
Okay. All right. This is driving me crazy. All right. Lieutenant Bob Berry with the Conroe Police Department has given us all the clues. Well, not all the clues, but he's given us what he came upon in the crime scene. And now what we're going to do is try and figure it out. So by asking questions and things like that. So he's gotten me to a point, though, where I have to, I'm going to have to let him give us more clues. We should do like 21 or something like that. You have to you at least give me 10 more clues. Okay, so were you pretty well stuck until they suggested, or they said, well, because someone's died like this, that we have to do an autopsy? At that time, and he's shaking his head yes, at that time when y'all walked in, was there was no clue that this might have been a homicide, right? I mean, you weren't thinking that when you went and saw this person, because you just thought there was a fire in the oven or something caught on fire in the kitchen where a lot of fires start, and the smoke, got her or whatever. And so anyway, okay, so they suggested an autopsy because there's no other clues around. Her boyfriend or his boy, you didn't say. It doesn't matter. Whatever they were identifying themselves as at that moment. Okay, was at work. The significant other was at work, so he had a solid alibi, in that sense. All right, so he or she had a solid alibi in that sense. This is driving me. I think the fact of what was their sexual identity at the time was driving me crazy more than who did it. Okay, so anyway, you have an autopsy. Can you give me from the report of the autopsy?
Yes.
What they find?
What we found was there's too many things for us to look at the very beginning. When you have a house fire and it's in the kitchen, it's contained in the one little area. Okay. The doors were I guess they were locked. Of course, the fire department, broke in to get in there.
Yeah.
So it appeared that there was nothing abnormal about the house.
Right.
Okay. So typically a house fire like that, it's not normal for a person to be in the kitchen and staying in the kitchen with a fire. They're going to try to get out.
Right. Right.
So something had to make that person end up on the floor, not because of a fire.
Right.
Okay. The other part is it wasn't a gas stove. It was electric. And there were pots and pans on the stove, but the stove was not on.
Was there
So there was actually nothing.
There's nothing in the pots and pans?
Correct. There was nothing on the stove that was cooked.
Okay. So
the other part of that is one of the things that we do, anytime that there's a questionable death, it goes to an autopsy.
Right.
Okay, so the pathologist goes through it and then gives you the reason being as to the cause of death. Okay?
So the stomach contents were what?
Stomach contents didn't have anything to do with it.
Okay. Was it poison?
Nope.
Was it an ingestion of some kind of drug?
Nope. Okay.
What? Okay. What was it?
You want to move on?
Are
you still? Have I got you?
Yes. All right. What?
You give?
I give.
Uncle.
I give. Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
All right. The significant other.
Yes.
We interviewed that person. That was the first contact person.
Right.
Kind of a weak answers that we had asked, questions that we had asked. Didn't really make sense, but okay. But he was at work. I will tell you it was a he.
So when he was called, did he say...
He was at work.
Well, I mean, no, when they called him and said, we want you to come in for an interview, did he say, when she said she's dead, did he say...
oh, no. No.
Yeah, he didn't say, like, what happened? How did it happen? Or anything like that. Did he say any of that? Because they say that's the first clue, is that that first reaction is very important.
Reaction was questionable for us.
Ah, okay.
Which gave us something to start working with.
Okay.
Okay.
Was it a she that
it was a he.
died? No, that died.
No, a she. Yeah, it
was
a she,
okay.
the victim, and he was the significant.
Okay, good. Okay. Now I can try and get this in my head right. Okay. All right.
The other part of that is when the body was taken for the autopsy, they found out that there was no smoke in the lungs.
Ah, so she may not have died in the kitchen.
She died in the kitchen, but not by fire.
Okay. And then he started the fire thinking the whole house would engulf and there wouldn't be anything left, any evidence left.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
The cause of death?
Okay.
Strangulation.
Shoot, I was going to say that, but I thought that they would see. No, they wouldn't see it because she was burned. She was
Correct.
burned so badly they couldn't see the. Well, how smart of him.
And
So he was
then-
just he was cared really just about her being burned up, but wouldn't he think about the smoke inhalation thing? I mean,
Apparently not.
oh man,
Then the other part of that too is it was too neat.
everything was too. Yeah,
Everything was good, and there's nothing on the stove to set the fire.
Yeah. So there wasn't any food or anything in those pots and pans,
No, it was not on,
and the stove wasn't on.
and so the victim was strangled in the kitchen.
And then he walked out, locked the door because he had a key. So that's why it was locked up.
The other part that gave us another hint was the fire department, they don't do anything with bodies. They do things with fires.
Right.
And so their investigation is, how did it get there? And they had the same question that we did. It wasn't done by fire. There was a fire there,
Yeah.
but that's not why she died. And they found, with their equipment and knowledge with the fire department, there was a flammable material that was set in the kitchen to set the fire.
Oh, guys, you never get away with stuff like that. It's so stupid. This guy apparently had not watched enough of the crime scene stuff and all that, the investigation. I love that stuff. I love the investigative part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fire department, usually when there's a fire, they have to have their investigators come in and
Correct.
and give you all the information from that. And then you guys, now you start studying this guy, her significant other, and he's at work. So do you go to work on people that he knows, or that anybody that he's had conversations with? Did they go and do it for money, or was it a jealous lover, or that kind of thing?
Nasty divorce.
Nasty divorce. Aha. Children involved? No children.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But what we did find was that there were different neighbors, family members, and the information we got was that the suspect and the victim were constantly fighting,
Ah.
and it was very always fighting,
No
always
past-
arguing.
No past criminal record on either one of them?
No,
Okay.
No.
Oh, that's weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, this person, I can't tell you which one, but it was a person who used a uniform, not a police uniform or anything like that. It was a company,
A company.
a big company, yes,
Okay.
and very stable. And that person was at work.
He's a
And
blue
then-
collar worker.
And so what we
And-
found was that it was actually found that this person had set it and had time to go to work and be at work at the correct time.
Ah. He was so stupid. Because if he had gone to lunch and done it, but if he goes and gets to work on time, but they can backtrack what time it actually started, when it started, and he could have still been there. He should have still been at his.
He would have,
Well, no, he wasn't at the house. They were divorced, so
yes.
he just came over.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that is so wild. So, how did he get life? Did he get convicted? He's convicted. right?
Currently in prison.
He's currently in prison. Okay. Man, oh man. Bob, that's great. I mean, it's horrible that this is something that happened. But what you guys have to go through to find the right person, because he looked like he had such a solid alibi. But you guys stayed with it until you got him.
The end of it, the one that really got the most was when the investigation started with the bringing him in and talking to him, and he gave a statement of what he did and where and how and all this kind of stuff, and it eventually it was falling apart, and so we were able to get a warrant, have him arrested, and of course the rest of it went to prison.
And if he didn't
over
have
the
any
course.
past criminal record, it should be even easier to make him fold, right?
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
And so you've seen the TV show 48 Hours?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and how that 48 hours works.
Right.
It wasn't much more than 48 hours, and we had
So you're able to break him down.
cleaned up the whole thing.
See, well, and they're right. It just starts decaying. The whole case starts decaying after so long because you lose your people. They get further out, or you know that you can't capture everybody that you need to be able to talk through it and find out all the different clues. I'm so fascinated by that. I love that. Thank you, Bob. That was wonderful. Okay, so it was the boyfriend. Not the boyfriend. The significant other.
Yes.
They had been married.
Yes.
Like they were totally married. Okay. Wow. Okay. When he walked in, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
You saw him? He walked in. Did you go, he did it? You can admit that you don't work, maybe act on it, but did you?
We have a
smelled
very good way of looking at people and the way that they answer questions, but it doesn't just walking in. You really can't see that when you start talking to them and you start getting those questions and then getting some of the wrong answers, and they eventually will trip up.
Right.
And,
but when on 48 Hours, when you see the interviews and things like that, and then they show them when the policemen walk out of the door and they watch how they act in there during that time, it's so pitiful because this really has happened. But you do see how people can just lie, and I don't know, God talked about how he hates the liars. We all have lied and said untruths, but you just see how easy people do it, and they're so convincing. It's strange.
There's never a perfect crime.
No, that's right. That's when you watch forensic files and stuff like that, you go like, wow. And forensics have gotten so much better, and all the things that they can do now with it
Exactly.
That wow, you just when somebody starts to figure out how they're going to do this crime and they premeditate this. This guy didn't meditate enough on the pre-side because of all the things like putting him in the kitchen, starting the fire, and then there's no smoke inhalation unless she was still breathing. He thought she was still breathing and she'd breathe it in, but she was strangled to death. And that's tripped him up terribly because they're going to know this happened before time. And then when they can time the death by what? Is it the coagulation from blood? Is it the way the blood is settled and that kind of thing? Answer that when we get back. We'll be right back with Lieutenant Bob Berry on the Cindy Cochran Show. Wow, this has been so exciting. Our own little CSI. Okay, we'll be back. Don't go away. Just after this couple of messages.
The Cindy Cochran Show. You ain't heard nothing yet.
Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station, and we are looking for talk show hosts and volunteer DJs for our music shows. Are you interested in having your own talk show on Lone Star, or have you always wanted to live out your dreams of being a music DJ? With the addition of Conroe's FM 104.5 and 106.1 and video aspects of our talk shows, we are needing people to grow with us. If you or someone you know might be interested, please contact us online at irlonestar.com/contact us, or call the station at 936-647-5747 for more information.
The Cindy Cochran Show, the most opinionated talk show on radio.
Okay, you're back on the Cindy Cochran Show. Great lineup on Mondays. You have Richard in the morning with all the country western music, and he has guests in as well. And then you have the Cindy Cochran Show from 10 to 11 on Monday, and then from 11 to 12 you have the weekly business hour. It's coming right up after this, so you can just leave it on this dial and enjoy Richard Schischler the third. Isn't he the third? Yes, he is. He's a silver fox, and he's all up in your business, and he can tell you what you're doing right and wrong, and make it work. And he loves to have people come in here and they talk about their businesses and how they're making it work, and inspire people who like to start their own business. It's great fun. But he's so knowledgeable. It's hard to talk to him because what did you say? What was that word? I don't know what that word meant. But he's very smart. So anyway, you guys, it's coming right up. Don't miss it. Also, we are going to have a great week of just entertaining things from the political world. And we even had a compliment, Bob, about Richard and I being such a great match in a talk show setting. So usually he does snide, comments and stuff, but Richard's very deep, and I think he has an old soul, but he can talk from the millennialist, side of things, and it's great, and he can, make fun of me being older, whatever, it's fine. But I have a younger spirit, I think, than Richard does. I really do. I think my spirit is much younger, and I'm more in touch with my kid's side than Richard is. He's just... But I did get to meet his girlfriend, and I got to tell you this, Bob. She is beautiful. She is so beautiful. Her name is Holly. And, he talked about her, but I hadn't seen, pictures or anything like that. No, I did see one picture, but it didn't do her justice. But I did get to see her, and she's amazing. So he needs to be very kind to her. And I may be advising him in a different way when he asks me something. Because you need to go ahead and get married. Just do it. Just get married. It's inevitable, and might as well, because I don't know if you'll get into somebody else like that. She's really cute. Okay, anyway, so enough of that. I don't know. I think she must listen once in a while, just to hear, Richard, not me probably, but so we're gonna have a couple of days of just we're gonna talk what the world situation is, and the fact that Texas came out Friday and said, we will not be blackmailed into forcing our children to have to, be in a stall, next to a stall, to someone who's identifying as a different opposite sex. That's okay. But see, my solution was this. My solution was if they want to do that, it's fine. But they go to the teacher's lounge and allow them to shower and to go to the bathroom in the teacher's lounge. And if the teachers say that that's going against their privacy, we got another problem. So anyway, I think I figured it out. All right, now Bob, give me the ending of what happened to that case.
A lot of it started with the investigation with the autopsy and that sort of thing. We found out that the suspect or the victim was strangled. It was set on fire and with a flammable material. And when you die like that, and then fire comes along, there's no smoke in the lungs. Right. And so there's a body temperature thing that we look at. Mm-hmm. What's the time of death was? We can, the doctor can tell you pretty much within the last how many hours or whatever it was that it was there. The body was there. Interviewing the suspect, kind of hicked up on some of the answers. Right. And so we were able to get enough information to get a warrant to have him arrested. Went to trial, and sure enough, he's in prison now.
Y'all broke him down. You were able to break him down. And it's just like you said, in the 48-hour show, they got to get that done quickly as possible. Correct. And you guys did it. And I'm glad he was caught. I know it was the first time. I'm glad he was caught, and that y'all were able to put him away. I think that these kind of stories, and Bob's going to have one for us weekly. It's so exciting. We're going to talk about. I love this. Now, if there's something else you need to talk about and make people aware of, that's certainly fine. But this is so interesting to me, and these shows are so popular. They've got so many series that are out there, and we'll have our own local What Happened right here in our area to do this, right?
Conroe has everything that every other city has.
Right.
We just don't hear as much. We're a smaller city, but we still have crime just like anything else. Right. We do a good job. Montgomery County is doing a good job. But we still have some of these things that are still occurring just like it is in Houston or other things.
But you know what? I think it's rarer than it is in other the bigger cities. And you can tell that because when something happens, every single agency comes and they're there on the scene within seconds. Everybody comes out to see what's going on and to help. Because everybody's very helpful. But it sure is more fun than sitting in office, right?
We really like that with the the quality of people that we have.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Listen, guys, you've been listening to Cindy Cochran Show. We'll be back tomorrow. And please stay tuned for the weekly business hour. We will be here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Got it? 10 a.m. All right. We'll see you then. All right. Bye.
Thanks for checking out this production of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. For more information on this show and other shows on Lone Star Community Radio, check us out online at irlonestar.com. If you're interested in sponsoring a program on Lone Star Community Radio and reaching the local audience of Montgomery County on FM, internet, TV, media, please call 936-647-5747 or contact us online at irlonestar.com. This recording is a Lone Star Community Radio production produced by the show host and Dick Schischler of Lone Star Community Radio. Interested in volunteering as a music DJ or starting your own talk show? Contact Dick Schischler at dick@irlonestar.com or by phone at 936-647-5747.